In today's video, I'll be sharing my experience on Zepbound after 1 month, including updates on weight loss, side effects, how it's affected my Hashimoto's autoimmune disease, and more. If you're new here, my name is Madison. If you're not, welcome back. I recently started taking Zepbound, also known as tirzepatide, to help with weight loss with my autoimmune disease Hashimoto's. I'm currently on 2.5 milligrams, which is the lowest dose. In my previous video, I shared more about Hashimoto's and why I'm beginning to take the medication. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I will link that video somewhere on the screen or below. I won't make you wait until the end of the video to find out how much weight I lost during the first month, but I do recommend that you stick through and hear about the side effects that I've experienced so far, because I think that that is also really important when you are starting or considering taking this medication. So during my first month on Zepbound, I lost 8.5 pounds, and I do think that that's good, but I'm honestly kind of surprised that it wasn't more, considering how little I was eating, especially during the first 2 weeks. So I'm currently filming this video about 2 weeks into my second month on Zepbound, and I've lost additional weight. So if you're interested to see how much weight I lost during my second month, definitely hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss my next video when I do my month 2 update. So on the weight loss conversation, I just want to say that everyone's experience on this medication is different. Some people lose a lot of weight during their first few months, other people it takes them longer. There are so many factors involved with that, one of them being like your starting weight. It's important, to not compare your story to everyone else's story. Again, because there are just so many factors involved with starting to take this medication. Now I want to dive into side effects, because I think this is a really important aspect of the medication, and it was something that I was personally the most concerned about going into it. The side effects that I have personally experienced on Zepbound have been really low appetite, which is to be expected, really slow digestion, which is also to be expected. I also had really bad heartburn and acid reflux, like really bad. I mean, this isn't something that I really experience too often before taking this medication. Like, there'd be like one-off, a couple times a year if I ate something weird, and I'd get some heartburn and then it would go away, but this has been like really bad. The most intense like heartburn, acid reflux that I've ever experienced, and I'm having to like take not Tums, but like something similar that I bought at Whole Foods multiple times a day, which is not good. I am a little concerned about that. I've read online that that is a really common side effect, and for some people it does end up going away. But I'm going to keep monitoring that, because if it continues, I might need to speak with my doctor about that, because I know that after a long period of time of like intense heartburn, acid reflux, like that can do some harm. So that is something that I had not anticipated, but that's been the most negative side effect that I've experienced so far. So fortunately for me, I've experienced no nausea, no throwing up. I don't know if this is completely true, but I have read a lot online that people who inject into their stomach typically experience the most nausea, have, throw up. I've been injecting into my leg because I mentioned this in my last video, but the thought of, sticking a needle into my stomach just sounds just disgusting. I think that that's the most common place that people do the self-injections, but I just can't bring myself to do it. So I don't know if that's the case for everyone, but I have had no nausea, haven't thrown up at all. If that's something that you're experiencing, I would maybe consider trying a different place to do the self-injection and see if that helps. But that's definitely something that I was worried about, because obviously no one likes throwing up, but I was worried about that, but that hasn't been a problem so far. I wouldn't say that I have a fear of needles. Like, I can go to the doctors, get shots done, like that doesn't bother me. I just can't really look at it When I do get my blood drawn, that grosses me out just because the needle is stuck in my arm for like a long period of time. But when it came to, you know, having to give myself an injection for the first time, that really grossed me out, and I did almost pass out, which is not ideal. But I have gotten more used to it. And one thing that I'll say is that when I did my first 2 injections, I was really anxious and nervous, and I did the injection standing up, and I was like leaning over, and I don't think I was breathing. I think I was holding my breath, and I think that all of those factors combined led to me becoming extremely lightheaded. And so what I started doing was I would just make sure that I'm like in as much of a calm place as I can be. And I do the injection sitting down now. And since I started doing it that way, I haven't had any problems feeling like really lightheaded or like I was going to pass out. So like I mentioned, the main reason why I started taking Zepbound is because of the weight gain I've experienced through Hashimoto's. And I wanted to provide a brief update on how I believe it's affecting me so far. So I haven't had any lab work done since I started taking the medication, so I don't have like any numbers to look at or to compare. But I will say that I have felt like I've had more energy. I mean, not like a crazy difference, but if you have Hashimoto's, you know that extreme fatigue and just feeling tired all the time is just a part of the deal. And so it has been interesting to notice that, you know, small shift in feeling like more energized throughout the day. Also, before I started taking the medication, I was having, you know, pretty extreme blood sugar swings. No matter what I was eating throughout the day, I would get to a certain point, usually in the afternoon, and I would just feel extremely fatigued and shaky and lightheaded, and I would just feel like I need to eat something immediately because I felt like I was going to pass out. And that was becoming a recurring thing. And since I've started taking Zepbound, I haven't had that problem at all, which has been really nice. I don't know if the blood sugar issues were tied to Hashimoto's, but I have a feeling that it was probably like related directly or indirectly to it. So it's been nice to not have that problem so far. I also want to talk briefly about what I've been eating and how I've been exercising since I've started taking this medication. Because I haven't had much of an appetite at all, it's been really hard to get enough protein in during the day. Obviously, protein intake and strength training are important for everyone to maintain a healthy lifestyle, but it's really important if you're on a GLP-1 because one of the side effects of taking this medication is muscle loss, which is not something that you want to happen. Because my appetite has been non-existent on a lot of days, I have had a really hard time figuring out how to get enough protein in during the day, but I am focusing on that and trying to figure out how to make that more doable for me. I eat a mostly plant-based diet, so that adds another factor into it. So I'm still figuring out what that looks like on a day-to-day basis, but I am also trying to do weight training at least 3 days a week. Sometimes that doesn't happen with work, but that's something that I am really trying to prioritize generally, but especially now because I'm on a GLP-1 and I definitely don't want to lose muscle mass. I'm also walking every day, or at least, 6 days a week. Sometimes 7 days a week, but I try to walk like, 1.5 to 2 miles intentionally. And then I also, getting my steps in during the day when I'm just like walking around the house or whatever. I recently and finally got an Apple Watch to help track my steps, and it's been really helpful with, me making sure that I'm moving enough throughout the day, so I highly recommend. Finally, I just want to say that there are many people out there who are super judgmental and skeptical about GLP-1s, and I was also that person, last year before I really started, researching GLP-1s and, listening to people's stories. And, not everyone is going to be on board with you, and not everyone's going to understand. There are a lot of people who are, metabolically healthy and who are able to just count their calories and be in a calorie deficit, work out, and lose weight. And unfortunately, like, that's just not the reality for a lot of people, especially people who are chronically ill or who have autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's and others. And so I just want to say, like, be kind to yourself and know that just because not everyone is going to understand, that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong or that you shouldn't pursue this as an option if you and your doctor feel like that is the right step for you. So that is my 1 month recap on Zepbound. If you're interested in my month 2 recap, definitely hit subscribe and like this video if you found it helpful. Share any comments, questions, your experiences down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.